Great, here is my first video on how to install a flat trigger onto a P07. Since it is my first video, just excuse it going in and out of focus. I will try my best to do the best quality video I can. So today, I'll be using a watchmaker screwdriver where I have cut a slot into it to help with the decocker spring, Swiss Army knife, 2mm pin punch, and a set of tweezers. And a plastic earbud. So with these you can actually pretty much do everything with this pistol. And a 3mm pin punch too, which I don't have here. I'm just going to use this one because I'm going to use it to guide the trigger in. So when putting the trigger in, everything on the P07 slots in like Lego. So it all should just come out by using your hands. With your injector here, you've got to push it down in order to slot it out, and you've also got to click the hammer back in order to help get the decocker out. So inject it down, pull the decocker, pull the hammer back a little bit, as there is like a wedge here that gets stuck just over here by the sear. Down, pull, so across. Take out that side, push down the trigger bar, take out this side, and then just use your tweezers and take out the decocking spring. The decocking spring. So I could show you what it looks like. Okay, let me just. Now that that's out, you can click out the trigger bar spring, which sits just over here. Let me just try and get this all into focus. There's the trigger bar spring. Don't take it out because it's an absolute mission to get it back in. There you go. So now you've taken out all the internals that you need to do in order to get easily to the trigger bar. Now what you can do is you can take punch. There you go. Start to push out the thing. Put your hand over the top because you don't want the trigger spring or trigger return spring to pop back into your face. You can hold it like that. You can see here punch is now through it and through the return spring there. Put your hand over, hold it away from your face. Take that out. And here is the trigger return spring. Okay. Put it somewhere safe, put it out the way. Put everything safe and out the way. Okay. So you can see now the trigger has come free. What you can do is push it to the back, take it out. If you wanted to, whilst you're doing this, a nice thing to do is to actually take the trigger bar out. See how it just clicks and slots there. Clicks, slots in like that. My trigger bar has been used a lot. I've obviously polished it, so you can see it's quite shiny. But what you can do is polish and sand here till it's smooth, and you can also feel along here, and if you feel grittiness you can start to smooth this out. But just be careful because you don't actually want to lose any of the dimensions and stuff. So the art when working on a pistol is just to take it slow, be methodical, polish, move as you go. So you can see it's all just smooth and smooth along here, anywhere that there's going to be a contact surface. But also just put some grease here when you put it back in, so that when it runs against the wall of the pistol, it is not just rubbing dry. So then, obviously that's the way to put it out. So normally I replace my trigger with every new batch of triggers that I make. I have recently replaced this one, so I'm not going to replace it again. My trigger return spring has been the same one I've used ever since I first sort of designed the part, which is here. I like to keep the same one just to try to see how long it's actually going to last. But what I can do is just clean it of some of the grit and gunpowder residue. You can see there, it is a bit, I will get used to this. A bit scratched, a bit dinged up, but that's just the coating that comes with it. Now the tricky part is putting it all back together. So what I like to do is take a plastic Q-tip or earbud, as we call it here. Why am I out of focus now? Okay, here we go. And then what I would do is I'll put the trigger return spring slot in as it's supposed to be, push the earbud through, make sure it's flush here on the side, then take my Swiss Army knife, cut the other side off. So you see there the earbud is flush on both sides, so it's not going to catch going back in, but it's holding that trigger return spring in place. So when I put it back in now, it's going to be a lot easier. I'll put it through the bar, so you see there, moves freely in it. Take the pistol, put it in there, slot it in. Just make sure that this trigger bar return spring is to the side so that it doesn't get stuck. That's your trigger bar return spring here. Put it in, slot it around the back, come down and drop it in. So now it is perfectly in place. Trigger bar spring, there it is. Trigger bar is properly slotted in behind the hammer there. And now we start to line it up. So what I like to do, and the easiest way that I find to do this, is just to take my pin punch and slowly start to push out that earbud. Whilst holding the spring and stuff in place, it goes through, and there you see the earbud comes out, and the pin punch is now going through. Taking my trigger bar, what I'll start to do is I'll start to follow it through. You can see there, whilst pulling my pin punch through the other way. Holding everything in place, using that to guide that trigger bar through there. Let me just see there, it's gone through. Use the pin punch to guide, pushing through. There you go. Trigger's installed. I can push the trigger bar down. See, there you go. It's catching. Don't let your hammer slam into the sear without the slide on. It's just going to damage your pistol. So we go back down. Now I just remove that trigger bar spring again because I want to put the other side of the decock in. That's in. That's easy to slot in. Slots in, down. There you go. Look for the decocker spring, which is here. This is a bit of a finicky thing. Put that back down into the hole. So you can see it's back in its place. Get the other side of the decocker. Go through. Slowly just push the ejector down to get it through. Remember to pull the hammer back so that there's space. Get it in. Line the decocker sides up with each other. And then just start to slowly work it in. You can see it's caught now. Push through. That's in. Push down your trigger bar spring. Gets in there. Just do a quick function check again. See, I'm constantly controlling the hammer so I don't slam it into my sear. Now is the hardest part, is actually getting this decocker spring underneath the decocker. So since there's that slot cut into the end there, as you can see, I put the end of the decocker spring through that slot, click it through, there it's in, decocker's in, that's there, that's tight, decocker's working, spring's working, happy days. Put my slide back on. Working perfectly. I can put my tools back. So I actually put in one of my older triggers. I brought a whole bunch just to show you that there is the progression. But I've slowly changed the shapes. There used to be quite a sharp edge here on the trigger. I've now gone all smoother. I used to have a lot of gold ones in. This is actually the latest design. You can see I've gone for the black. It uses a hard military coat anodizing. It's rounded off there and it's actually a pure straight trigger. Great. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like, share, be rad. Thank you very much.